You know what we are going to make today? Now let's find it. So we are making something in Scratch. So it's an online and offline engine. So how to make it on Scratch? So let's start. First, we might need four backdrops. One backdrop is already here. So let's just do what we have to do in the backdrop. So we need a loading screen. So I'll just type loading and okay. So here is a loading screen. Now let's rename it. So next we need an online screen. So just duplicate this and I'll type online. So here's our online screen. Just type online screen. Now the third one is offline screen. So we'll replace online with offline. Okay, this is our offline. So I'll rename to offline. Now then, that's all. We need only three screens. So let's get into the code. So what's the code? First, I'll go to the events and drag the when flag click block. Now let's go to the looks and drag the switch backdrop to offline screen block. Now let's change offline screen to um, loading. So now we will wait 3 seconds and then we'll go in the same control, we'll drag the forward block and now okay. So let's drag the if then else block and keep it here. So we might want to create a variable. So let's go to variables and click on make a variable. So we'll name the variable online. Click enter. So here's our online. Let's just hide it. So next is just drag the on. Let's go to operators and drag the equal to, and we'll keep it near F. So let's go to just variables and drag the online and keep it here. So let's just change 50 to 1. And now let's go to looks and just drag the switch backdrop to offline and we'll change it to online. And now just duplicate this and keep it in else. So just change it offline. Okay, now we are ready with the first code. So now let's go to the next one. So let's go to events and drag the when flag click block again. And now let's go to the control and drag the if then and keep it here. So now let's go to the operators and we'll drag the equal to. Now let's go to the sensing and we'll drag the username block. So here's my username ArcadeKidX. So I tap it in the place of 50. Okay, so now let's go to the variables to create one more. Okay, now the variable is going to be to encode. And now let's click enter. And now let's go to the variables again and just drag the set my variable to 0 block and keep it here. Hide the to encode. And now let's change my variable to encode. Now let's just duplicate the username block and keep it here in the place of 0. So now we will go to my blocks and we will make a block. So I'll click on block. Now our block's name is going to be encode. We will click on OK. So here's our define encode. We need just the block encode. So I'll keep it here. Now we will create two variables. So the first variable is going to be username. Okay. Just don't forget to click the cloud variable and it will store your username. So click on OK. Here is something. So here's a username with the cloud. I'll just unhide it. I'll just hide it. Then we will drag the set username block and keep it under encode. Now we'll create another variable. So our variable is going to be encode result. Click on OK. So this is our encode result. I'm going to hide it so it looks much better. Now let's just drag the encode result block and keep it here. Now let's go to sensing and drag the reset timer block. And now let's go to the controls and drag the forever block and keep it under reset timer. Now let's go to the variables and drag the set username and keep it in the forward. So I'll just make another variable. It will be called online again, but with the cloud. So click on cloud, click on OK. So here comes our cloud online. Now I'll just unhide it. So the cloud online, we'll select the cloud online. Here's a cloud online. So let's go to sensing and drag the timer. It's about the reset timer. And now let's go to the control and drag the wait 1 second block and I'll keep it inside the forum. Right 2 seconds. Now our second quote's over. Next what? Okay, this is the biggest part of the project. So we have the define encode here. So I'll go to variables and drag the set online here and I'll keep it here. I'll just change it to encode result to blank. And now let's make another two variables. So they are E1 and E2. So I'll just hide it. It looks much better. And now we are going to drag the set online again and we'll change to E1 to 1. Just duplicate this. Okay. Now I'll duplicate it. Then we will set E2 to 0. Okay. So next is we will drag the repeat block. So let's go to controls and let's drag the repeat block. So here it is. Now let's go to the operators and drag the length of apple, and we will keep it the place of 10. So let's go to the variables and drag the to encode block. Now we should drag the to encode block and keep it in the place of apple. So now let's go to the control and drag the repeat until block and keep it inside repeat. So this is it. Now let's go to the operators and drag the equal to block and keep it here. So this is the longest code. So now we will need to go to variables and make a list. So click on make a list and we will just type alphabet. Then click on OK. So here's our list. Just hide it. So it will make more space. And now we need to go to the list properties, and these are the properties. So we should drag the item or one of alphabet. So we should keep inside this the first blank, and here it is. So now let's go to the variables again, and we now have the E2. So I'll keep it in the place of 1, and now it's good. So now let's go to the operators and we will drag the letter 1 of apple. So I'll drag it and keep it in the place of 50, and now it's okay. So we'll go to again to variables and we'll drag the E1 and keep it in the place of 1. So and the next is just drag the to encode and keep it in the place of apple. So this code is done. So we need more variables too. So I'll not create now. So we will drag the change on line by 1 and keep it inside repeat until. So we will change on line to E2. And now we need to drag the if then in the control. So I drag the if then and keep it inside repeat. And now we need to go to the operators and we should drag the lower in here and keep it near F. And now again we should go to variables. We use a lot of variables here, so we need to go there. And now I'm dragging the E2 and keeping it here. And now we'll change 50 to 10. Okay, now let's just drag the set block and keep it in the F then. So let's change online to E2. Please don't get confused between cloud online and online. So now let's go to the operators and drag the join apple banana and keep it in the place of 0. So now let's go to the variables again and let's drag the encode result and keep it in the place of apple. So we also need to drag out the E2 and keep it in the place of banana. So next, let's drag the set and keep it outside the if then and change it to encode result. And now we need to duplicate this and keep it here. So next is just drag the change and keep it under the set. So let's change online to E1. So E1 is already there, and let's drag the set and keep it under the E1, and we will just set it to E2. And now done. So the next code we have to do is, let me arrange it. Okay, so next code is, let's go to events and drag the when flag clicked again. Now we need to go to the forever. So control and forever. Now let's go to the variables, and we need to create again a variable. So our variable's going name is last temp. So last temp. So this is a last temp variable. So just hide it. And now let's begin a code and drag the set and keep it in the forever. So now let's change online to last temp. Now we'll drag the cloud online and we will keep it in the place of 0. And now we need to go to the control to grab the wait 1 second, and we might keep it here. So we'll change it to 3. Now we might have to go to in the controls itself. There's a block called if then else. So drag it and keep it under it. So the next is, now let's drag the go to the operators, and there's a block called not. So I'll keep it in the near if. So next is in the operators itself we find the equal to. So I'll keep it in the place of the blank and not. And now we need to go to the variables and just drag the last temp, and we need to keep it out here. So just drag the online to keep it in the cloud online to keep it in the 50. So now let's drag this set and keep it in if. Now we need to go to the normal online and change it to 1. And now just duplicate this and keep it in else and click on 0. So the code in the backdrop is over. So it's not over yet, but we need to launch a message. So click on when I receive message 1, click go to looks, and we will create an extra backdrop for, I think, welcome screen. So just see this. We'll design it simple. So online and offline engine. Okay, this is our welcome screen. I need to make it more attractive later. So let's go to code and we'll just edit some welcome screens. So we'll just go to this block and we'll drag the switch backdrop on. I forgot to name the welcome screen. So welcome screen. Okay, now we'll drag the welcome screen and keep it here. So we need 1 second gap between these. And we are good now. So let's go to the looks again and we will drag the switch backdrop to welcome screen and wait. Okay, Our code in the backdrop is finished, so let's create a sprite and we'll see what the code is needed. So this is our code. Now let's create a sprite. Click on paint. So we need not to paint something. So let's just enter this code. So click on events and drag the when flag clicked. So now let's go to the looks and drag the hide. So now let's go to the control and drag the wait 1 second block. This wait 1 second block is very neat. So click on 1 to change it 4. Okay. Now let's go to the variables and let's drag the set online to school to a 0. And now let's change on cloud online to encode result. And now we need to drag the cloud username and keep it over here, the place of 0. So we need to create another block called decode. Like we created encode in the backdrops, we need to create decode here. So click on make block and we need decode. So click on OK. And now our decode's here. So let's keep this define decode somewhere else and click on and drag the decode to keep it under. And now we need to go to the control and we need to drag out if then else. So now is the main part. And now let's go to the operators and we might need to drag out the equal to, so I'll keep it here. And let's go to the variables to create another variable. So our variable is going to be decode result. So it's the decode result. Click on enter and now let's hide it. So now we are going to drag the decode result and we will keep in the F near the F. And now we need to type our new username in the next box. So my username's again ArcadeKidX. So I'll type ArcadeKidX and we need to go to the looks again and we need to drag the hide and we will keep it under F. So the next thing is now in the looks itself we should drag the set color block and keep it under here. Now let's change color to if you click the color there are many options over here. Just click anything but I want ghost here and now I'll change 0 to 100 and now click on the locks again and we'll drag the show and keep it here. So the next thing is go to the controls and drag the repeat 10 blocks. So I'll keep it in the else itself. So I'll change 10 to 50. And now we need to go to the looks again and drag the change color effect by 25 block and keep it here. So I'll change it to ghost again and I'll change 25 to -2. So this is a code. We need to do everything else too. So let's go to the variables and we need to make another variables. So it's the E1 is the encode one and E2 is the encode 2. So we need to make D1 decode 1, D2 decode 2. So let's make it variable again. So D1 and D2. And now it's good, so I'll just hide it. So, and next is to drag the set and keep it under decode. So let's change online cloud online to D1 and -1 in the place of 0 and D2 again. So D2 again to 0 and next is again we should drag the set again and decode result in the place of cloud online. So we'll just leave blank here and now let's go to the controls and drag the repeat block. So we need to go to the operators and let's drag the length of apple and keep it near repeat. Now let's go to the variables and drag the encode result. Don't be confused with decode and encode results. So I'll drag the encode result and keep it over here. And next is we might need to go to the variables again and drag the change block. So I'll keep it here and let's change again online, to D1 and by 2 and duplicate this, change it to D2. Okay, now we might need to create a new variable, some new variables. So what is it? So it's called DD and we'll click on OK. Let's just hide this and now we need to create again a variable. It's called timer2. Okay, so this is our variables. So now we need to drag this set again and we'll keep it here. So let's change it to DD and this is a long code. So what we need to do is like we should go to the operators and drag the join apple banana and keep it in the place of DD. And now in the same operators we might find one thing called letter 1 of apple. So I'll just drag this code and keep it in the place of the apple in the join. And now we need to go to the variables again. So we'll drag the D1 and keep it in the place of 1. So and now we need to do is drag the encode result. So here's the encode result and we need to keep in the apple of letter. So what should we do in the banana? Just duplicate this and keep it in the banana. We need to change out D1 into D2. So I'll just write. So what I'll do is drag the D2 and keep it here. Now this is fine. Now let's do the decode result. And now we will drag the set and we'll keep it in the D near the DD. So we need to change to decode result. And now we should go to the operators again and drag the join apple and banana. So decode result, the variable, and now we need the list. So here is the list called alphabet. So we need it to store some information. Okay, so now let's tag the item one of alphabet again and keep it in the place of banana. And now let's go to the variables again and we'll drag the dd to keep it here. And now we're done, I guess. So let's run it. I'm not really inside my account, so it'll work. You should try it yourself. So this is my account and bye bye. Have a great day and be sure to subscribe and